And we are back to talk about Ahsoka, the penultimate episode, episode 7. And I gotta say, off the heels of how great last episode was, this one it was okay. It was fine. Moving things along.
Yeah, it was okay. It was a lot of action, but at the same time, I kept asking, why are these characters doing what they're doing? Like, people were fighting that shouldn't have been fighting. People were splitting up that shouldn't have been splitting up, and the characters needed to be where they needed to be, but there wasn't really any explanation for why various characters were where they were at various points. You know,
What do you mean?
you know. Well, for example, all of a sudden, the samurai dudes are working for Balin and his apprentice. Like, how did that happen?
Yeah.
Because the previous episode, they were just random Tusken Raiders, right? Like, in the hills. And now, all of a sudden, they're working for Balin and the apprentice. And did they hire them really quick? Did they, like, communicate with them and then pay them or something?
He briefly says in the last episode, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, which I guess that's supposed to just clue you in that they've come to some kind of agreement, despite not knowing their language. Okay.
Right, or talking to them or any of that. It was just that kind of came out of nowhere. Also why Balin and his apprentice suddenly split up at that moment, you know, where he's like, you and I, we just don't see eye to eye, so we're gonna have to split up, and you can go back to the Empire and take your place and be powerful, and it's all cool. Yeah, what are you doing? Oh, I'm gonna just have a random fight with Ahsoka in a field for no reason. Like, what? You know, like we still don't get like the Balin master plan of like what is Balin supposed to be doing with himself. Like, he says he has some greater cause, and he's just not explaining to us, the audience, his apprentice, any of it. He's just doing stuff, you know. And it's like, has it something to do with the planet? Does it have something to do with Ezra? Like, we don't know, but he seems to not want to hang out with his apprentice anymore and wants to fight Ahsoka in a field.
That was a little weird. It's almost like he's noticing that her ambition is clouding her judgment. Therefore, he's letting her loose and giving her one final piece of advice and just letting her go. I don't know if that's him graduating her to the next level or whatever. Because in the last episode, she says, like, is Ezra, is he like me? And he's like, no, I'm training you to be something more. If you were training her all this time to be something more, why are you letting her go so easily?
Right. Why are you letting her go? This is the problem, is if you're going to have some sort of big shift in someone's thinking and life, and this is a big shift. This is a master and apprentice, right? I assume this is a pretty important bond, between two people. There's not many Jedis or not many Force users in the story, in the universe. It's pretty important that these two have found each other. It's pretty important that they're training together. They must have some sort of teacher apprentice love and affection, and over essentially, like, and she's been acting this way the entire time. This seems like her built-in personality. Why all of a sudden, while tracking Sabine and Ezra, does he suddenly make this huge decision to cut loose his apprentice, which seems pretty freaking big to me. And there's no real impetus for it, like, had he seen Ezra and then he maybe saw how good Ezra was with the Force or something, and Ezra, he wants to now train Ezra, like, that would be something. But that's not the case. It's walking. Like, walking was the thing that caused them to shift, and he sensed something inside her and her ambition that she's been talking about the entire time. So that I thought was really clumsy. Like, considering how much, like, I really loved the Balin story last episode, and for it to be like whimpering, and now it's like, unless there is some really great explanation in the last episode, I gotta say that this is just like schlock, like very schlocky, like pushing characters where they need to be.
Yeah, I was hoping Shin wasn't gonna like get murked this episode. I'm glad she survived, but because she has potential. But
Yeah.
I agree with you. Like, hopefully the Balin thing pays off very well in the final episode. I'm hoping.
Right.
I'm clinging on to the whole thing he said last episode about there being something here that's calling to him, and how the Great Mothers,
Right.
how powerful they are trying to run away from it. That is gonna be that's gonna make or break that character, and I feel like half of the show, because is a huge setup.
And had they even had like him feeling something, or him being like him meditating, and then all of a sudden being like, or something to like hint to that. But instead they're just like walking along, and he's like, yeah, I know we've been like doing this thing for years and shit, but like, let's go our separate ways. And I'm gonna give you one piece of advice, like, don't be an impatient whiny bitch. Like, that's essentially like that's essentially it, right? Some other things I liked. I mean, I guess I'm liking Ezra's character. He seems very different from everybody else. I kind of liked how he wasn't using lightsabers, or blasters, and then he picks up a blaster later. So I guess he's full of shit. But I don't know what. I'm trying to think anything else I really liked about the episode. I mean, I was digging the Ezra, like, Sabine connection. You're hoping that they bone, right? You're shipping them, right?
I mean, well, first off, I mean, a little bit, yeah. It's she in the last episode, Thrawn was like, your gamble, put the fate of the galaxy in jeopardy because of you wanting to see Ezra again. Okay, like,
and this is beyond just like two attractive young people that you're just like, yeah, get together already in this sexless Star Wars universe. Like, let's have some romance between somebody and somebody.
To be fair, the show doesn't need romance to be good, but look, it's just it's all right. Just throw it in there. Fuck it. Why not? Also, Ezra really looks like Space Jesus. I don't know if that was on purpose or not. And I know Jesus doesn't have a copyright on looking like that, but I don't know if they're going for it. Space Kung Fu Jesus.
They gave him the how like ridiculous pictures of Jesus always have him with like blue eyes and stuff, and they gave Ezra blue eyes, but he's got the beard, and he seems so at peace and smiling on every response and stuff like that. But it was fine. I thought their battle with the rat guys riding between the
Ronin?
the snail peoples, the snail peoples, we're fine. I think that was it was. I guess I liked the action sequence where they come out of hyperspace into the middle of the minefield, and then the whales are like, we're out of here, which is exactly what they should do, right? Like, as animals that have hyperspace abilities. Ahsoka's personality, though, is all over the map. Like, all of a sudden she's like she's cocky and smiling and stuff, and then she's worried, and then she's serious, and there's no real like, her reaction to various things is random. Like, something dangerous happens, she can either be super serious or be super stoic, or like she can be joking around and cocky. And it's like, you never know how she reacts to any given like input, like it's very, very weird. Her character, I feel like Sabine and Ezra are like real characters, real people. I even feel like Thrawn is a real person, but Ahsoka just you spin a wheel to pull, it's like you roll, you spin the wheel of fortune wheel, and it just lands on an emotion. But whatever. It's funny how Ahsoka is like the worst part of Ahsoka. Like, I like all the other characters. Except for really Ahsoka. I don't know.
You made me realize how there wasn't a lot of Thrawn in this episode. I'm a little disappointed by that. Not a lot. And I wanted to see like his strategic nature come out. It kind of did.
Yeah.
Kinda.
It's kind of, I mean, he approaches everything he does like it's some sort of strategic master plan. But he's like, it's like, why are you doing this incredibly stupid action? And he's like, well, let me tell you the intense calculus of it. And then you're like, okay, I guess. You're just like, I guess that sort of makes sense, but it's not exactly genius, you know? Like this whole, like it's kind of lucky in a sense, you know, because it's like, okay, Ezra is somewhere on the planet. So he's going to send Sabine to go find Ezra so that he can kill Ezra too. But if he doesn't, if she doesn't find him, it doesn't matter because they're just going to strand them. But and the whole thing is kind of lucky because Ahsoka arrives and he's like, well, she's going to try to find Sabine, who's trying to find Ezra. So that's going to buy us time, and they're just going to get stranded on this planet. So Thrawn just kind of got lucky that he had sent Sabine off because Ahsoka was going to try to find Sabine. But he didn't have really he didn't really have a great reason for sending Sabine off. So
I guess, but in a sense, at the end of the day, they all kind of need Thrawn and his super hyperspace ring thing because
the whales are gone, right?
Mm-hmm. So how the fuck are they gonna get back?
Yeah. I mean, I think what would be a cool way to end the season is that Thrawn like leaves and they're stranded there. And then you're left on the cliffhanger of like, how are they going to get back? You know? And then she's got to do something like channel and summon the whales or something, some bullshit. You know, like that would, but that would seem like the thing, you know?
That would seem like some bullshit, though. Just like you said, that would seem like some fucking bullshit.
But you gotta do something. I mean, it's either that or they're captured and they get taken back. Or they hitch a ride somehow with they land their ship on top of the Star Destroyer, and the Star Destroyer goes and they don't notice them, you know, like the Millennium Falcon in Empire Strikes Back, right?
Is that a thing that you can do? Just land your ship on another ship that's about to go into hyperspace? Is that a thing that can happen?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't know. Maybe. I don't know the rules. Apparently, you can just get swallowed by a whale and have it go to hyperspace, and everything's fine. So.
That's true. That's true.
I don't know, like inertia-wise, I don't know if that works. But like, like you'd think the whale would go to hyperspace, and then you'd smack into the side of like the inside of the whale.
Well, as it stands, what can they really do? Because now they're up against 2 Jedis and 1 Jedi-trained Mandalorian. There's got to be some. I'm assuming the catacombs that they keep putting on the ship, maybe those contain dead bodies that will be reanimated to halt their advances. No idea.
Yeah, but I think the theory that the stormtroopers were reanimated corpses really kind of took a hit this episode when the stormtroopers were just getting shot and they're just dying like regular people. No puffs of smoke. You know?
That was the huge theory everybody had, like the whole Merrick thing on who he could have been, and of course it all went into that's a shame that the Night Troopers are just fucking stormtroopers in like red cloth to make it look cool.
With duct taped together. Yeah.
Well,
I mean maybe it's possible that they didn't pull off the helmet, but you'd think a reanimated dead body would be more difficult to kill or something. Like there's some like advantage. Yeah.
Right, like maybe when Ezra's shooting them with the blaster, it takes more than one shot to take them down. They just keep coming.
Yeah.
So, and the Ronin stuff. I mean. The one thing that surprised me in this episode was the opening. I actually quite enjoyed it. I thought it was nice. Senator Ziono was a dick again, but I like that 3PO showed up out of nowhere. 3PO! Great use of 3PO.
It's true. I mean, I understand that like Carrie Fisher is not around, so we're going to have like her giving a command off screen. But the I didn't know that Leia knew the Star Wars Rogues characters.
Yes,
you know?
she actually met them
okay.
when she was a teenager.
Okay. So essentially, she Hera should have been court-martialed. They were completely right, and essentially Leia came in and was like, "It doesn't matter. I'm fucking Princess Leia," so she gets a pardon. Essentially,
Pretty much. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little annoyed that they didn't try to do a hologram type of thing. It's just a message from 3PO, because they so could have done like an actress that looks like Carrie Fisher and done the whole deep fakes thing. Because there was I don't know if you recall, there was a guy who would do deep fakes, and he would fix up the deep fakes that Disney would try to do. He was on YouTube. Disney came in and hired that guy, and he's working for like Lucas and all that stuff now. So they could have done like a hologram of Leia, giving the message, kind of like how we saw her back in New Hope. They could have done that, and I whatever. 3PO and a hologram, I would have liked it.
Yeah, and I like how Kim's Convenience is like there to be like, yeah, there's another show that exists that we kind of have to mention because you're all being dumbasses. Like, of course there's a conspiracy. Like, of course there's an Imperial like conspiracy. Like, everyone's sitting around being like, no way, this is dumb. Come on, like. I don't know. It hasn't been that long, right?
He bridges all this together. It reminds me of Rosario Dawson's. Is it Dawson? Rosario
Dawson.
Thank you.
Dawson's Creek.
Of course. Rosario Dawson's character reminds me. Jesus Christ. Rosario Dawson reminds me of another character she played on the Marvel Netflix stuff, where she was the night nurse, and she was in Daredevil, she was in Luke Cage and Jessica Jones and all this other stuff. So she kind of connected all those characters together. Same thing here, I guess. Kim's Convenience.
Night Nurse was everything. Kim's Convenience guy is just going to keep appearing in everything. He needs to be in all the series.
I wouldn't mind. That'd be cool.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, he's fine. He's a fine character.
But no, he actually ties this to the end of Mando season 3, the conflict on Mandalore. So this is taking
now we
place.
At least know where everything is. Yeah. So yeah, everything seems to be fairly chronological with regards to the series. Right? We don't have to be like, oh, this one happens. Well, I mean, Andor obviously, but I'm saying like the Mando, Book of Boba Fett, Ahsoka universe all seem to be happening. Like, they seem to be happening like when they're released and like the events occurring and like seem to be happening in real time with like our universe in parallel, but I it's nice to see a little cameo from 3PO. It was used fine. They weren't overly sentimental about it like they were with Luke in Mandalorian, which is fine. But we'll see if that plot like gets pulled in at all. I mean, Hera's important in the sense that she lets the Empire or the Rebellion know, or not the Rebellion, the New Republic know that Thrawn might be coming back, and we should prepare for the worst. But how is that going to affect things? Or is Hera just they needed something for her to do?
Other than the opening of the episode, I really liked Anakin, the hologram of Anakin, young Anakin. That, by the way, that's supposed to be Anakin post Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, and way before Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith.
Right.
So I love that she's just listening to the holograms and stuff. It's so nice. It's very cute. I like it.
Like that's the last one. Yeah, and Hayden Christensen is he's getting really good at I mean, he was always a pretty good actor, but he's getting pretty good at like being a great actor even with clunky dialogue, so you know what I'm saying? Like there are some actors that need a good director and good dialogue to be good actors, and then there's actors that are like, it doesn't matter what you give them, they will somehow like spin it into something incredible. And so I think a lot of people were really like frustrated with Hayden Christensen in the prequels because they'd seen him in other stuff and he's a great actor, but in Star Wars he's not that great, and it's because the dialogue was so clunky, and George Lucas is not exactly a great director for directing actors. And so it didn't come off great. But now I think it's been so many years that Hayden Christensen has grown into an actor who can, even when given, not great dialogue or whatever, he can make it work. Though I think the dialogue in Ahsoka is much better than the prequels.
Oh yeah, of course. Well, George Lucas is not involved. George Lucas is definitely not involved in this. And
yeah,
I don't know. There were quite a few things to like about this episode. The minefield really reminded me of Deep Space Nine.
I like how they were somewhat reminiscent of the training module things.
The training. Yes, you mean the remotes?
The remotes, yeah. But yes, the minefield from Deep Space Nine, I do remember that. Those were cool self-replicating mines.
That was pretty neat. The name is Rom, by the way. I thought it was Nog, but Nog is the son, Rom is the father, and Quark is the brother.
For audience members that don't know what we're talking about, so in Deep Space Nine, there's a character who we normally think of as being dumb, but he's actually quite smart in a different way, which is the whole thing about Ferengi, is they're actually very smart, but even if they seem dumb. But he comes up with the idea of a minefield, but if you hit one mine, it explodes, but then the other mines, using the replicator technology that they have in Star Trek, takes those atoms and re-replicates them back into a new mine. So that like the minefield is just like there continuously, and you can't like destroy it. It's a pretty clever idea, like using the technology that already exists in Star Trek, like a replicator, and then you have like self-replicating mines. You hit one mine, the other mines re-replicate it back into place, and it was a pretty neat thing. But I mean, these aren't self-replicating mines, but I still remember that concept. When seeing Deep Space Nine like decades ago and thinking, oh, that's clever. Like they should have those,
Right, and that's what made me think of the caravan shapes. Reminded me of the one someone pointed out in my server, and very good point out. The caravan scene from this episode, reminiscent of what happened in the second Lord of the Rings film, where the orcs riding the dog-looking things.
It also reminded me a bit of the Battle of Naboo, with like the big clunky machines, like and like riders in between them.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
This time the heroes and the villains being swapped.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But no, it was a decent episode. I agree with you. I like Ezra a lot. I still like Sabine. Thrawn, it's a shame we didn't get a lot of him, but whatever, I'll take it, I guess. Baylan, still a mysterious, interesting character. Hopefully the finale of this show doesn't mess up his character. Shin Hati, I want to see her again in the future. She needs to be a main character somehow. They got to insert her in there. Some crazy eyes. I love them crazy eyes.
I'd like her to continue. I'd rather them not like keep killing off Jedi and then finding another Jedi out there. Like I'd rather have like them bring these characters back rather than just, So I don't want her to die and then later in another series there's going to be another lost Jedi, because they're well. Because there's an endless supply of lost Jedi in the Star Wars universe. But yeah, I would like to see her return. And it's too bad Ray Stevenson is gone. But it's I would have loved to see his character return as well. Recast him. I don't know why Star Wars is so resistant to recasting. I mean, besides Anakin. You can recast Anakin, but everybody else, I guess they recasted Obi-Wan, but recast everybody. It doesn't matter. Recast Leia. I guess the young Leia's new, but recast these people. It's fine.
Why recast? We have deep fakes. With the actor's permission or the family's permission.
I don't know, like
the likeness.
So we talked about, Carmine and I talked about this. Like, I haven't watched the new Indiana Jones movie, but I was like, but like a lot of people have some real problems with the deep fake Indy at the beginning of the movie. That I know that he appears, like, and everyone's like, it just. One, it just looks fake, and two, it's like old Harrison Ford's voice coming out of like a young Harrison Ford's mouth, so it's silly. like, why didn't they just use a young guy? And I was like, that's true. They could have just, considering that there was a guy who played Han Solo in the Solo movie who plays a young Harrison Ford, just use him. I was like, that would have been just as good, you know?
There's actually an actor, I think the man's name is Anthony Ingruber, who literally looks more like a young Harrison Ford than the guy they got for...
Yeah.
Hold on, Ingruber. Here it is. Actor and impressionist. If you look up Anthony Ingruber, Ingruber is Ingruber. Look him up. He literally looks like a young Harrison Ford, more so than the guy they got for the Solo film. And why they didn't do it, didn't cast him, I don't know. I feel like it would have cost less to get Anthony Ingruber than it would have been to do the deepfake thing. Because you literally have to go, like, frame by frame by frame to make sure it's, like, perfect.
Right.
And, That's
I mean, he looks great. He looks great. I mean, I don't know, you know, he's absolutely fantastic. But as I say, the guy in Solo was fantastic. So I don't know. But in all, like, we don't mind people getting recast. It's fine. Just recast.
But Preston, we have the technology to put these people in here how they originally were when we remember them. Why shouldn't we? Are you saying just because we can doesn't mean we should? Or is that what you're saying?
Just because we can doesn't mean we should.
You know that's from, right?
Also, it just looks... yes, of course. Jurassic Park.
Of course.
Yes. You spent so much time trying to figure out if you could do something, and you didn't ask yourself if you should. Yes, I understand. And that's how I feel about all the CGI stuff. It's just why are you even doing it? Why?
But to wrap up the discussion on Ahsoka, decent episode. I was expecting a bit more. I wanted to see more Thrawn, but very decent episode. Not as good as last week's, but still pretty cool. Pretty cool.
It was fine. It was just a lot of action. I recently saw a video about like dialogue and saying like dialogue comes in two types. There's dialogue of like practical dialogue that's like action related, like what's happening in the story, what will happen in the story, what did happen in the story. And then there's analytical dialogue where people talk about what the action means and how it feels and how their character is reacting and changing as because of it. And they say that great dialogue is analytical, boring dialogue is practical. And so now, like, when I was going through this, I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, this is all practical dialogue. It's like, whoa, there's a minefield. We need to get into the whale bones. Oh, now we've got to go find Sabine. Oh, we've got to stop them. Oh, and you need to leave me. You need to go back. And not much of how do we feel about all of this? Like, who is this how does this change me as a character? So that's what I think it was lacking and why it was not as good as last episode, which had so much analytical dialogue where people are talking about their feelings and what this means, So that's kind of the difference. So this was all action, too much action almost.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you. But like I said, for the most part, fine episode. I'm very excited for the final episode. And then we got Loki next week. Loki, huh? Yeah,
crazy.
Loki.
It's already Loki time. All right, man.
It's been a minute since we covered Marvel, but it's back. Hopefully it's not like Secret Invasion, which was not that great.
Secret Invasion was the worst.
Preston, do you mind if we wrap it up here?
Sounds good.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us. As always, we'll see you all next time. Have a good one.